This is Eric Mitchell from To The Point. It is Thursday, November. I almost said October. And I'm going to be bringing a guest on here in a second so you can see the guest. But just wanted to welcome you guys all. This is just like yesterday. We're popping in, popping out, doing some interviews, covering topics that you guys have all been asking about since 72 hours ago, otherwise known as election. This is still election day, technically. We're still in election day. It's 3.0 because yesterday was 2.0. Lots of going on. And we have a great guest here today, a fellow veteran from the other branch that actually does a lot of hard work, our friends in the Army. I'm excited to have Mark Sauter here. Mark, let me bring you on. Boop. Technology will work. Hey, Mark's right there. Hey, Mark, how you doing today?
Good. How about you?
You know, it's been a long 72 hours.
Amen.
But do we really honestly think... It's 2020, so did we think this was going to be easy? Nothing's been easy in 2020. Oh, so it's a mess.
There'll be a lot of drinking on New Year's Eve this year.
I think there's going to be a lot of drinking when we get a decision. There's a lot of us.
A lot of drinking happening right now at a lot of media and polling outlets too.
Well, the polling outlets are like, we don't know. There's nothing to see here. We didn't do anything wrong. Oh, I'm frozen. This is getting even better.
They should be drinking. Some of them probably are thinking about drinking strychnine rather than whiskey.
Oh, they are. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Hold on. Everybody bear with me while we're doing the camera switch because apparently we're having a camera issue at the same time. This is just a great show, guys. So, Mark, it is interesting, and as I get everything going, we can still chat. It is funny. I don't know what it's sensor cleaning. This is fun. Look at that. Look, cameras. Oh, Eric has cameras ready for cameras. This is how we do things around here. We're always prepared like Boy Scouts. But, Mark, where did you go? I'll bring you back in. Here you go. Makes more sense right here. It's been interesting. We're talking about the media. We're talking about polling. And they seem to be the ones that have messed up the most. We heard for weeks, every network, even Fox, one of the president's own, everybody said Biden. We heard blue wave is coming. And then election night hit and we didn't get the blue wave. Now we do have, some states that are traditionally for the Republican Party that are too close to call.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget about the Senate and House, which
exactly.
really was a bigger whiff by the pollsters and media even than the presidential election.
So let's start with the top. We'll get to the Senate and the congressional folks here. But how did we get to this mess? I watch a lot of TV. Obviously, working in the media, it's something that we do. But we sit here and you go, and it's the most common thing, not even those of us who are in the media and work with the media. It's average Joes that are channel surfing, and we all saw this on election day. You're channel surfing, and you go network to network. Each person has the news differently. They're all projecting something different. Now, there are two networks that I feel, in my opinion, both have yet to call Arizona. They have yet to call Nevada, yet to call Pennsylvania, yet to call Georgia. CNN, shockingly enough, is basically saying North Carolina is going to go to the president. They don't see that changing. They're counting that in. But all the other networks are just going with Arizona. And I think unless you know, and I do like the fact that at least some networks, Newsmax TV being the one on the other side, and let's just face it, you and I both know that media is either left or right. We don't have down the middle anymore. The days of Walter Cronkite or Asta La Pasta. How do we get fair media during an election next time? Obviously, it's not going to happen this one. We're well into this disaster. But in 4 years or 2 years when we vote again for Congress, how do we fix this so we're getting accurately reported and accurate news? Because we shouldn't go from channel to channel and get different numbers.
So I would disagree with you on that. I think there's value in not having a uniform voice, which is one reason that I'm so concerned about much of the corporate media becoming homogenized on a woke liberal agenda, and in many cases, such as the New York Times, explicitly giving up on the idea of being balanced. But let's take a step back if we can. The media are part of what we would now call the knowledge industry, which is transforming every part of our lives, whether it's AI driving diagnoses by radiologists working in India, all the way up to your insurance, your financial life, knowledge management, and data are transforming our world. And the media have not kept up with this, in my estimate, and in fact are going in the wrong direction. And let me give you an example. In 2003, well, let me take that back. On 9/11, of which I've written a substantial amount in my Homeland Security textbook and in other places, there was a huge failure in the knowledge management by the U.S. intelligence community. Basically, the FBI and CIA did not share information. They were not paying attention to the right things. And as a result, the enemy was able to get through and attack us. So after 9/11, there was a major shakeup in the intelligence community. There was a study done, a blue chip board of experts went in and said, here's what happened, here are the mistakes, here's how we should fix it. And in fact, some of those mistakes were not fixed in time to avoid the debacle by the intelligence community over WMD in Iraq. So there were two major debacles by the intelligence community, and as a result, they were reorganized and things changed. Flash forward to 2008-9, when we had the mortgage collapse and the recession, and there were major attempts to reform that part of the knowledge industry, which is the financial services community, which where I work now after having spent much of my earlier career in the media business. So there was a huge failure, and there were attempts both by the organizations, but by regulators and pressure by the public to say, how did we get this so wrong, and what do we need to do to fix it? Now, let's go to the media. In 2016, the media totally missed the election of Donald Trump. And if you watched most of the media, you had no idea that Donald Trump could become president. You were shocked. We even saw people in the media who were shocked on air. It was a major, major boondoggle for most of the media. Some of them then said, well, we need to fix this. Among other things, we should get to know voters in the middle of the country better. They all had different claims of how they would fix it. What we found out this week, and it's not really a surprise, is that they never fixed it. They said they were going to. The New York Times, for example, said we need to go out and listen more carefully, outside of the Acela corridor, to what other Americans in the middle of the country and the South are thinking. However, they ended up, in effect, barring voices from pro-Trump people from their newspaper. You probably remember the big flap when they put in a column by Senator Tom Cotton, and the New York Times staff was enraged, and they actually fired the New York Times op-ed editor who chose to put in Tom Cotton's op-ed. So they went the wrong direction, and here again we have another debacle. And so we don't expect that that the media can get everything right. We should not expect, in my estimate, that they can predict things. Most things they cannot predict. But we should expect that they take their role seriously and try to correct institutional errors and massive fundamental problems. And I would suggest one of those is the fact that while in our country there's a major emphasis overall and in the media on diversity, which I think is great, the way the media deals with it is only diversity of skin color and not diversity of ideas. And so, for instance, before the 2016 election, Politico, which is, as you know, a major political publication, did a study of the White House press corps and found that of the dozens and dozens of members of the White House press corps, not a single one was a registered Republican. And they could only find one person in the entire White House press corps who was going to vote for him. There's no way that you can run a knowledge management organization if you only hire people who already believe in in effect, one thesis. It just doesn't work. And so I am not very hopeful that even this second boondoggle, in my opinion, the Russian collusion issue was really another boondoggle in between the 16 and 20 elections, insofar as many of the leading media organizations won awards, and in one case a Pulitzer, around Russian collusion, and then people were shocked when the Mueller report came in. Yeah. So without getting into who's right or who's wrong, it's clear that if you watch the media in general for major events, for the 2016 election, for the issue of Russian collusion, for the 2020 election, you will end up getting the wrong, inaccurate impression about what's happening in our country. Yeah. And the media, another thing that I found astounding when you compare it to, say, the intelligence community, the finance industry community, and the medical community that try to correct errors in their management of knowledge, after Trump had a surprise victory in 2016, the reporters for the major newspapers and cable nets who were covering Trump and totally missed the fact that he could get elected. Mm-hmm. So the reporters who basically were telling the public, there's no way this guy can get elected. He then got elected, and which reporters were chosen to be on the White House beat after they flubbed the election? The exact same reporters. Well, so think about it, right?
Well, I got to disagree with you on some of this, and it's okay. I say this as I'm a proud Lincoln veteran, and I'm very proud of what the Lincoln Project's done, because there's a lot of us who are Republican or had been Republican. And the last 4 years, the media, asked questions. For me, looking at the media, one, from a normal human being's point of view, two, from a veteran point of view, the media, I think, was very good at the beginning because we had good people. General Mattis, General Kelly, decorated folks. In the last 2.5 years, it's become the media's under constant attack. It doesn't matter if you are all the way conservative and Fox and Breitbart are your place, or CNN, who is always a convenient target, even though they may be factual, and you can go fact check a lot of these people. Attacking the media, the president brings a lot of it on himself. He is condescending. He has no skin in the game to say jack crap about our military. He never served. He it's undisputed, did make fun of a POW. I don't care if you like John McCain's politics or not. If you didn't serve, sit down, be quiet. Tell John thank you for his service and move on. You had bone spurs. The man and I'm just picking on the military because it's something you and I both have in common. He does a lot of attacking, and yes, sometimes the media goes after him. I'll agree. But he plays victim. His press secretary called a decorated colonel. Sorry, it gets me pissed off. Called a decorated colonel a low-level employee. Really? She's the most low-level employee that you can have besides the janitor at the White House. She doesn't even wear a mask, and that place is a COVID hotspot. And these guys are doing that? I find it hard to believe that I have zero sympathy for either party. If your president is sitting there pointing fingers in fake media, the dude's not 100% always correct. We all know that. Obama wasn't correct. He fell on his sword.
Eric, let's get off Trump's behavior, much of which I find repugnant as well. Okay. That's not the point. The point is, did the media give you an accurate impression of what was happening in 2016, what was happening with Russian collusion, and what was happening in 2020? It's perfectly good to go after Trump. I spent 10 years of my life as an investigative reporter and managing a newsroom. I'm a graduate of what is claimed to be the best journalism graduate school in the country.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. Don't get me wrong, but
the point is, are you getting accurate information from the media that helps you understand what's going on and make decisions?
When it comes to Russian collusion, I think a lot of it was subject to what was being released to us. I mean, you got to remember that was a whole nother administration, and Russian collusion number one, has been proven. We do know. I mean, come on, the guy is besties with Putin, and we know that they're even involved in this election. They've been involved in everything.
Let's keep it at a 15,000-foot level.
Okay.
If your news supply came from the New York Times and CNN, you were sure that Mueller was going to find out that Trump had a Russian midget under his desk telling him what to do, right? They were all in on everything from from Russian prostitutes urinating on a bed to Trump being controlled. As many people in the cable network said that Trump was a Russian agent. So let's not talk about how much or any of that's true. Let's just say when the Mueller report came out, huge numbers of people were crushed. They couldn't believe it because the media led them to believe that there was a huge there, that it was not ambiguous. Same thing with the 2020 election. If you watch most of the media, if you watch CNN, if you only read the New York Times, you would never have believed that the Senate would stay in Republican hands and that the Republicans would pick up numerous House seats, let alone that Trump would be this close.
I think a lot of people are naive. I'll agree with you that a lot of people, I think this is on both sides. They don't go use. I mean, I'm amazed by the number of people we posted on Tuesday morning on To The Point. We, as a brand, decided that the only place we were going to get factual news from is the AP, who I absolutely trust. I think the AP is the closest to unbiased as you can get. Definitely wouldn't go off of CNN, Fox Newsmax, or any of those big outlets because...
We're losing AP too, but I agree with you.
Yeah, but I mean, there's really not... I mean, The Guardian used to be my go-to. I mean, I like The Guardian.
I've written for The Guardian.
Yeah, the Guardian is... You know, they're all... It's hard to find the right outlet. You're always going to get... We both said that earlier. We're going to get a different spin. My thing is the media has caused so much of this because, they give you a different flavor, a complete, 180. But I've been watching, I'll be honest, I turned Fox off. I couldn't take their 82 different voices talking over on the side, or at least Newsmax and CNN. They're keeping some of the same faces, but like Rick Santorum, he is from the right. Rick Santorum is defending the president of the United States. And I've been watching. And as much as people, Chris Cuomo hates the president, they're still talking about ways the president can win. And they're telling people, don't start celebrating in the streets yet. And then what I find funny is, and they all said this last night, which I live in Portland, Oregon. So you know where I'm probably going with this. They said last night, this is great. People are happy. There's nothing going on right now. And I'm going, at 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time last night, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Department called a riot in the streets. These people, we don't even know who they are, because the question everybody has is, well, originally we were told these people were, they're the alt-left, this is Biden people, this is what will happen if the Biden doesn't go his way. Well, as of right now, unless it's different, and it hasn't changed because my phone's on right next to me, the Electoral College is 4 points away, or 17 points, depending on what poll you want to look at, or who's covering what with the Electoral College. Biden is either 4 votes or 17 votes away from being the 46th president of the United States of America. So therefore, I don't know who these people are in the streets. Then, I'm going to say it, then the president's right. These are anarchists. They're not anything related to politics. And I've been telling people, these are people who feast on chaos, the same way that we know the president has a reputation. It goes back years. He loves chaos, loves the news. He tells us about his ratings more than anybody. And I don't even think he likes this. But obviously he's not coming out and saying anything about these folks. We don't even know who these people are. They're armed. But again, last night in front of a polling station in Texas, people were armed with long rifles and handguns. It's an open carry state.
They weren't smashing the windows down in the center. So,
no, they were threatening the media and throwing rocks at the police and making it scary for the people to walk out who are volunteers, which I think that's a big thing I wish the media would discuss more. I heard Chris Cuomo say it, and I heard Marine Greg Kelly at Newsmax say it, and Sean Spicer also. Gotta love two guys who serve. They will always come out and be like, dude, these people are volunteering. You don't need to attack them.
Yeah.
But you have to, I mean, I think that's what people need to remember is, oh, the polling people. Like, no, these polling people are like you and I. They're normal Americans who are doing something I wouldn't volunteer to do. I was like, nope, don't feel like counting.
Yeah, but Eric, they're getting paid big money.
Are they?
Right? So in my profession, if I totally screw things up twice in a row, I'd get fired.
Yeah.
And the media, many of the outlets totally hosed up 2016, Russian collusion, 2020, and there has been no accountability for them. And I think that's because the business model of the media has changed. 150, 200 years ago, newspapers were venomous.
Yeah.
Most newspapers were associated with a specific political party, and they would say or do anything to help that party.
Yeah.
There was a change over the last 100 years where the media tried to get into a mode where they were, they wanted to be balanced. They wanted to be fair. They talked about themselves being nonpartisan. You talked about Walter Cronkite. Yeah. Walter Cronkite would be, today he wouldn't be a liberal, but he was, he certainly was a moderate, maybe a moderate leftist to some extent. But most people didn't feel that he was jamming politics down their throats or that he was putting his finger on the facts. That now is. I think we're going back to where we were. I think we're going backwards. I think we're going back to where we were 150 years ago, where each major media outlet will be carrying the water for a specific political party or ideology.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Hold on, I'll bring myself back on. Here we go. No, and then we'll add you. Hey, we're doing technology. Oh, wow, you're in a box next to me. This is interesting. Hey, there we go. This is not what I was trying to do, but hey, this is what the system is having us. Let me figure this out because this is new. This is something.
Yeah, no worries.
This is fun. You're in a small box. I'm just trying to make this work.
The smaller my face is on your show, the happier your viewers will be.
It's good. Here, we'll make you right here. This works. Look at that. We'll make technology work. I made it work. Before you go, let me ask you this question, and this is my final question. I've been asking everybody the last 2 days that's been on the show, and I think it's an important answer because I'm just curious. All of us, obviously you and I, do not politically see eye to eye, which I have no problem with, which I think is great. Side note, everybody out there, this is how veterans, for the most part, this is how we behave around each other. Mark and I do not have to, agree, just like Topher Towns and I do not agree. The Marine rapper who you've seen on my show. We don't agree politically. But these are my guys. These dudes, we're vets. I don't care. It's good. You don't agree with me. Awesome. Know what makes us cool is we're different. It's the same reason why you probably joined the Army and I joined the Marine Corps. We don't have to be the same. And trust me, the recruiting offices, they're drastically different. They recruit completely different too. But my last question to you is, Mark, so here we go. We are clearly a very fractured country right now today. This 2020, the last 4 years, it's been a mess. No matter what side you sit on the aisle, everybody is angry. Social media looks like the hate fest. We kidded around about people drinking, and by the way, cannabis is legal in a whole bunch more states now. So hopefully people are...
And hard drugs in Oregon, in your part of the world.
Everything's... By the way, I did not vote for that. Anybody out there wondering, we did not vote for that. We read that bill because I'm very pro-cannabis. I think it does amazing things, not just for our brothers and sisters in arms struggling with PTSD, but cancer. It's so many people. There's so many scientific facts that cannabis. But again, somebody snuck it in there. They didn't sneak it because you could read it. But, here it is. Cannabis is the top word, and that's all people read. And then you kind of drill down, and you're like, cocaine legal? Meth?
And what happens to Oregon when all heroin addicts from across the country want to move there because they can? It's not against the law. I mean,
exactly.
It's scary.
It's very scary, but that's not my question. Even though it's interesting. I hope people aren't doing that. Cannabis just everybody knows cannabis is nowhere near the same thing as cocaine.
Totally different thing. Yeah, and it's a shame they put those together.
It is. And trust me, it doesn't shock us. I mean, if you look who the mayor is and who the governor is, it doesn't shock me. But here's my question for you. How do we come back for this? Is this years for us to come back, or will we never come back? Will we just be this very divided nation?
So let me again try to look at it from a 15,000 or 30,000 foot level. I was just down in rural North Carolina last week, and I was talking to my kids because there were Biden signs and Trump signs, and they were asking me. They said, "Well, there are a lot more Biden signs in Asheville and a lot more Trump signs up in the mountains." And I said, "Look, kids, in the Civil War, in states like North Carolina." There were both Confederates and Union forces, and at any given time, your town could be taken over by the troops from by the other side, and those types of hard feelings are going to last for generations, which they have.
Yeah.
I think that we're better off now, obviously, than we were, 150 years ago. We may not be as well off as in terms of comedy among the people and lack of hatred as we were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I couldn't agree with you more. There has to be. It's just so depressing that everything now appears to come down to ad hominem attacks on the motives of the other person or the background of the other person, or if you're white, you're evil, or if you're black, you're evil. And by the way, this is the great lesson that we veterans took, because there's a cliche that's true. Every person in the military bleeds the same color.
Amen. You preaching what I've been saying to so many. Hold on, I'm trying to get this to work. Let me try myself in this box. Let me see if that works. This system does not like me, but you are so right. Let me see if I can do. Let me see if we can be fancy. Hold on, what is going on here? But you're right, Mark. Absolutely correct when it comes to that statement about how veterans. We're all. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like somebody goes, "Well, what about Marines? What do you call black Marines? Marine." I mean, I'm like, what do you mean? What do we call? What do you call a female Marine? A Marine? Yeah, I'm like, maybe their rank? I don't know. I mean, that's just. I mean, but that goes back to the impeachment when people. I know I mentioned Vidman earlier, but that's like I was interviewed. Somebody asked me on TV. They're like you have to call him by his rank, and I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, I was enlisted. It's called sir. I've never yelled out across a room. I mean, maybe if I was yelling for like our lieutenant colonel, who was our battalion commander, I would yell out his rank so he knew who I was trying to get a hold of, Lieutenant Colonel Bates. But I would not, that normally you would not be like lieutenant colonel. You'd be like, sir. I mean, I'm an enlisted puke. So that's the way I spoke to officers. And I had civilians argue, no, you respect the rank. I'm like, no, because when I met General Kelly and General Mattis, I called both of them sir. I've never called them by their rank. I've met 3 commandants of the Marine Corps. I can tell you, I didn't call him commandant he's coming on our show. He's an advisor to my company. He's a brigadier general. I call him sir. I don't get people who don't understand how we are in uniform is completely different. We know how to get along with each other. We know none of us come from the same background. I mean, it's the first exposure I had to people who didn't know what boots were and hadn't owned shoes.
Remember the old World War II movies where they had like the Jewish guy from Brooklyn, the Southern guy from Tennessee, the black guy from Chicago, and they were all getting along.
But people don't understand that, Mark. You and I get it. I mean, it's like Forrest Gump, right? When he's on patrol. And he's like, we had Dallas. He was from Cleveland. Yeah. It's so true about our branches. Like, it's just funny because I think that's what people don't get. Because at the end of the day, somebody was asking me, "Oh, you joke around online," and I poked a buddy on Tuesday. He said who he voted for, and I had just watched. Funny enough, I had watched on Halloween with my kids. My kids are teenagers, so this is going to sound really weird. We watched on Apple TV, because they own it. We watched the Peanuts, The Great Pumpkin, Charlie, from 1962. And Linus says there's 2 things that you never talk about. He says politics and religion. So my daughter, who's 16, she Googled when that came out, and she's like, I guess that doesn't apply in 2020. I said no. Linus had great advice in 1962. Apparently, and then of course she got really scared because I said, well, by the way, that was 1962, so that was October that came out, and I believe it was 62 that Kennedy was assassinated, right? November 23rd?
Yeah, 63, yep. Close enough. And
close enough. Yeah, within a year of that coming out, our country changed. So
Yeah, and you brought up a really good, you're leading to what I think is a really good point to your question about whether things get better. Unfortunately, well, yeah, in some ways it's fortunate, in some ways unfortunate that so few people as a percentage in our society have served in the military.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what we know. It's service to something bigger than yourself. Service to our Constitution and country in the military. Service by helping people who are sick or old people with COVID who have to get to the doctor. There are so many. When you're trying to serve other people or ideas bigger than yourself, it often helps you avoid fixating on things about other people that you don't like.
Yep.
Right? And that goes to your point about the veterans. Not every veteran likes one another for sure. And I'm sure when you were in the service, as when I was, there were people we liked and people we didn't like and people we really didn't like. But we all knew that we had a common mission. And so we were able to avoid fixating on, is Dallas from Cleveland a Republican and I'm a Democrat?
Yeah, I've never, somebody asked me, how many Republicans, how many Democrats did you have in your platoon? And I started laughing. I'm like, do you really think guys in their 18s? We were like, hey, do we want Jim Beam or Jack Daniels? Okay, that was our biggest question.
Yeah, amen. And that to me, that's a much healthier question than getting into somebody's face about their background or their politics. So I think it's pretty clear that in our society we can use more service, we can use more faith in God or faith in whatever is the higher power or positive things, and less of this zero-sum view of our fellow citizens and politics.
Yeah, and Mark, before you go, we had Anderson Cooper. We had Cooper Lawrence. See, we had a Cooper on our show, just not Cooper. Oh, wow. Cooper Lawrence was on our show, and she's a PhD radio host, and she studies pop culture. And what we've been laughing about and talking about is the fact that these celebrities their endorsements mean nothing. And this attack that is, these celebrities, like right before the election, Eminem said, I endorse Joe Biden, I'm giving him rights to my song. And I'm like, does anybody care? Like, I know it has to be reported, but these celebrity endorsements mean nothing. I think the endorsements that actually mean something to people are actually our folk, the military folk, who stand up and go, no, we kind of know what we're talking about, until we get a president who actually served our country. But I mean, how far do we have to go back? We got to go back to Bush Sr. to get the last vet. I mean, come on. Sorry, you were in the National Guard, bro. You flew planes from Louisiana.
He was flying fighter jets and volunteered for Vietnam. I'll consider that. But the last war hero we had was obviously Senior. And if you can't appreciate that guy for what he did for our country when he's 18 years old, then there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I just really think it's weird. People are quick to go there, and they're always like Reagan. And don't get me wrong, I love President Reagan. And Jimmy Carter. He may not have been one-term president. Doesn't have the greatest history there. 70s were very volatile. But you look at Carter now and what he's doing. I got to give that guy a high five. Number one, he's still alive despite he's got more lives than a cat. That dude falls off ladders and. He served our country for many years in the submarines, and I think you're exactly right. We'll avoid the bone spur discussion, but I hope we have more. I think all of us, certainly the veterans, feel better when the president's a veteran. Oh, we do. And we like to see him win. I mean, we saw in Michigan. Yeah. We saw Michigan take a veteran. We've seen a couple veterans come up. Crenshaw was reelected. The one that I am upset about, and I have Republican friends who are also upset about it, is Amy McGrath did not win in Kentucky against McConnell because I wanted Pelosi and McConnell out. That's just the way I was like, let's get rid of people who've served longer than I've been alive. If you've been there since I've been on Earth, there's a lot of problems. You're not fixing anything. I mean, nobody should... If the country's messed up and you're on service and you're the common denominator of always being there, yeah, you're probably the problem. So I wanted her to do it, and I want to see more and more veterans. We have so many amazing veterans out there, so I cheers them. Somebody gave me, and we'll go, but somebody gave me hatred because I said kudos to Crenshaw and a few others, and I didn't care what party they were. I was just like, heck yeah, because we got, Pete Buttigieg, he's done amazing as a mayor. We had Tulsi Gabbard. Both of those two ran for office, and I always told people those are who I love. I wanted to see both of them go further, but our country's not ready for that at all. They're like, well, she's a woman and he's gay. And I'm like, but they both served. I'm like, they know more than all of you in the room. So if you're going to send us off to battle, at least they know there's that clench in your stomach that we all get where you're like, people are going to die. And we understand what that means. It's not something that's a video game. And I wish more and more Americans understood where we come from. It's why we get so worked up when we're like mentioning, like we were picking on Oregon. Here's a bill, just like our VA bills. Oh, it's buried under paperwork of all these other people get money. And it's like, oh, here vets. Well, yeah, we won't fix your VA.
How about this, Eric? I think we can agree on this, and I bet most of your viewers. We could use more veterans as our political leaders and fewer lawyers.
Oh, amen. I want more and more vets. I want more and more vets in Congress. I think if you're going to make decisions that are going to send people off to die, you better know what it feels like. I'm sorry. I know it's like, oh, service war. Nope. It's important because we are that country. We are America's 911. We are the world's 911. We do a darn good job. We keep our country. We haven't had a terrorist attack since 9/11. Knock on wood. And I think it's important people keep that in mind. And it's bipartisan. Our military is bipartisan.
And
don't forget that. We got to keep it that way. I would like to see it, and I know it's a long shot, but I think I've asked, and my daughter asked me, why isn't it a requirement? There's so many other requirements to be president of the United States, but there is no being a military person is not. And I think you're going to be commander-in-chief. You need to know what we're doing, and we haven't had a leader. This isn't picking on 45. This is picking on everybody except senior, because none of them really know. They're going to send. I mean, W had an idea, but I'm pretty sure Clinton didn't have an idea. We know Obama didn't, and we know 45 doesn't. So
we know that Clinton did his best to get out of the draft, and so did Trump, and Obama declined to serve, and Joe Biden got out of the draft. So it's a shame. I think we can all agree, more veterans in politics, better for our country.
And I love it. I see Richard Herman here chiming in, big time legal analyst over with our friends at CNN and other networks. Term limits, they're beautiful things, and we need them in this country more than ever because things need to get done, and we got a lot of people who collect paychecks and they don't do anything, and there's a whole bunch on both sides. One last thing, and this is a question, and I'm only asking vets this question, and I kiddingly said this, and so far everybody agrees. When the vaccine comes out, I think that we should have all the networks turn on, and we line up everybody in Congress, everybody in Senate, both Biden and Trump, all their families, and they all take the vaccine in front of us first before one of us take it before them. I think they have to. That's just my vote. If they're going to tell me it's safe and we should all do it, we're going to be safe, you go first. We paid you to go there. We voted for you. There you go. Or you ran for president and you claimed it was safe.
Is there more of a veteran's ethos than the top commander goes first?
Right? That's right.
It.
Leadership from the front, baby. We saw that in your beloved Army. He's no longer with us. Hal Moore, Colonel Moore. Yep. He's the one who said, I'm the first boots on the ground and the last boots off the ground. Amazing. We Are Soldiers, folks. Go watch it. I don't care how you feel about Mel Gibson. Just an amazing, powerful movie. And great about leadership.
Lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way.
I've watched that one too. I read that one. That's why I like Simon Sinek, because he talks about it. Simon talked about it, and then we'll go. Everybody's like, Jesus, and I have somebody right behind you to go on. But Simon Sinek said he went to Quantico in the Marine, and this is funny. Here I was a Marine for years. I never noticed this, didn't think of it, but Simon Sinek goes to Quantico, and he's there doing some research on the beloved Corps, and he finds out, he's like, okay, here we go. We got Marines. And he's like, the Marines lined up in order from lowest rank to highest rank. And he said, is this something you guys, like, is this like in your book, in your rule book? And the Marine he asked goes, no, it's what we've done. We just did it when we got here. And I went back and I grabbed my old green book from boot camp that's really old and dusted it off. And I was reading through it. And I was like, that's not a rule. It's not even something, it's just something we've always done. And I when I picked up rank, I did the same thing. How about
this one, Eric? Who eats first and who eats last in the field?
Always we. Well, I'm like the enlisted eat first, then our officers eat, and they always. And I've actually taken care. I've seen officers, not to cut you off, Mark, but I've seen and I've been part of it where our officer didn't have any more. Lieutenant did not have. We always had butter bars with us, so I love my butter bars, but they didn't have their MRE. This does happen, folks, especially in the Marine Corps, that not everybody gets a meal. Well, I mean, we always do, but we don't pack for our officers. And he didn't have food, and we all came together and we all put food in, and we made sure it was fed, and we've done that multiple times. These are the same guys that will be out in the field, and I've had an officer come up to me. I was on LPOP, listening post, observation post, training, and it's like 3 a.m. It's pouring nasty rain. And I walked by him to get the radio to head out there to replace my relief, and he was sleeping. And I remember Lieutenant Adams came out, and all of a sudden I felt this tap on my shoulder, and I was awake, of course, because you don't ever sleep when you're training. And he's like, "Hey, Eric," not Eric. He called me Lance Corporal. "Hey, Lance Corporal, I'm going to take your shift. Go get some." We hiked a lot. We did like 25 miles in like 8 hours. So I was beat, and he was like, "I got you. Go get some rest. You're doing a great job." And I was like, I volunteered to take somebody's shift, so I had done 2. And he rewarded me without asking. I wasn't crying or like, "Oh my God, this is so unfair," because it's not like work, people. It's different. You just do as you're told.
Yeah. Now, Eric, can I say one last thing?
Go ahead, my friend.
Go Army, beat Navy.
As a Marine, I'm totally 100%. And I'll give you this, and I see my mom on here. My grandfather was a full bird in the United States Army. So at the end of the day, my loyalty, because I'm a Marine, I don't have to like Uber. And I got a lot of friends in the Army. And I've been to an Army-Navy game. I can tell you it's one of the greatest things I've ever watched. I froze my tail off, by the way. But I'll agree with you. Go Army on that one. Sorry, Navy,
And there are no losers at that game.
Ever. We all are winners there. It's the most patriotic football game you'll ever go to in my life. Nobody's kneeling there, I can tell you that. That's not a place to kneel. It's not safe, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on. Everyone stands. I think we all agree on that one. I think vets, we're the different ones in the bunch. We're like, yep. It is fun watching the student bodies go back and forth, and God, they make the greatest signs at each other. And it's only those 2 branches that could get away with that, because if an average person said that, they would walk away with black eyes. But it's fun. It will be a good game. I can already tell you, Army will go run right, run left, run up the middle, and Navy will probably try to throw the ball. I don't know. That's what I'm going to go with.
My nephew's at the Naval Academy. God bless him. And there are no losers on the game.
Nope, never losers. They're all awesome. Every one of our warriors, I think everybody just needs to do that as we close out. All of those that are defending our freedom while we're sitting here in this just craziness that is this dumpster fire of the last 72 hours, folks. If you could do anything that you may agree, disagree with anything that Mark and I have said on the show, I just want you to take a second and think of somebody's son, daughter, wife, husband is sitting in a place that is not here, and they're not looking for a thank you. Just remember they're doing that for us, and they're protecting our freedoms to sit here and gripe at each other and snivel over what old white dude's going to sit in the Oval Office. So let's give some love to those folks out there. They deserve it. Their week's coming up. They deserve as much love as we can give them and support. So especially with the holiday season, it's so much more. Like you can see as a veteran, my brain's like, well, Thanksgiving's coming and Christmas, and you're deployed to Afghanistan. That sucks. Those people want to kill you.
Are you going to get a care package?
Yeah, that's all that matters. Not, oh my God, who's commander in chief? You and I both know that doesn't matter.
National Command Authority.
Yep, that doesn't matter. It's who's in charge, and that chain of command, he's on top. It just changes every 4 to 8 years, and we just show up. People ask me that. They're like, are you upset if it's Biden or Trump? I'm like, I really don't care. I'm like, at the end of the day, the Marine in me is like, it's somebody who will never come to my house and sit down at my dinner table, and they don't affect me. And I live in Oregon, so I can go eat mushrooms and carry cocaine on me, and I'm safe. So I'll medicate myself. Just kidding. My mom's on here. Mom, I'm just kidding about the mushrooms and the cocaine. The cannabis, I'm not kidding about.
Cannabis, not kidding.
I'm not kidding about cannabis. Anyways, Mark, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. So we need to have you back on. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks, and thank you for your service.
Thank you to yours, bud, and have a good Veterans Day. That's the most important. And oh, by the way, you guys have that after a more important day. November 10th, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the greatest days of the ever. It's the Marine Corps birthday, and then the next day is Hangover Day or Veterans Day. It depends on where you serve.
All right.
So there's a whole bunch of veterans like, screw you. And I'm like, yes, but no. Anyways, thanks you, bud. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate you greatly. Thanks for taking your time to come on today. Everybody loved you. Talk to you soon, Mark. Have a good Veterans Day.